good welcome to all of you for the webinar organized by Law Center 1. I welcome you all, and I officially invite our speaker, Dr. Rajesh Singh ji, who is not a new person to our institution. He is our own very person and who is very helpful in all problems which we face. So I welcome you, sir, also. And I am very thankful to you that you have spared your valuable time for our students. And I welcome you on behalf of our professor in charge, Dr. Sarabjit Kaur, and on my own behalf to this webinar. Now, I also welcome all our faculty members and the students who are the participants in this webinar. Now, I want to request my attendees that question answer option will be open to you. If you want to say anything to the speaker, you kindly use the option of the question and answer, right? So you can use the option that where you can ask the questions by writing in the question and answer, and you keep on writing whatever queries you have. And after the speaker will end his speech or his discussion, then we open the floor for question answer. And I take your questions one by one, and sir will be able to answer those questions, right? So chat is off for you so that there should be no distraction, because if you are not able to write anything on chat, then you attend the lecture. Now, the purpose of organizing this webinar. Now, we all know that in this lockdown period, the students are confined to their places and they are restrained from using the wonderful books which we have in our library. They are also restrained from using various kind of e-resources for which university is spending crores and crores of rupees for the benefit of the students. Because Google search we can do from our places, but as far as the university subscribed journals and material is concerned, that can only be checked from the official premises of the campus where the university has given the permission. So in this time when we are not able to go to our places, our institutions, so how to access to those resources which are available with the university and law faculty. So in this view, that how to utilize the best those resources, I and myself and our professor in charge, Dr. Sarabjit Kaur, thought that we should do this kind of webinar for the benefit of our faculty members who also want to do some kind of research while sitting at places, and how they can access the faculty library where the e-resources are there, and also to help our students to make their knowledge more strong by reading various materials which have not generally they do when they do the ordinary semester. So now, because of this reason, we have thought that let's invite Dr. Rajesh ji in order to give his expert knowledge and in a simplified way for all of us how to use this platform of e-resources for the maximum benefit of all of us. So I again invite Dr. Rajesh ji, and I again welcome you. And now I request you, sir, kindly start with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my privilege to be with you people, all the students from Law Center 1 and the faculty members from Law Center 1. I extend my thanks to Law Center 1, to you particularly and the professor in charge for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to interact with the students during these hard times. For the students, please be sure that in next 40-45 minutes, I will be telling you how you can make a precise and relevant search. I will be describing you what are the features of electronic platform and what are the open access resources which you can access from your home wherever you are, as well as how you can access the subscribed content from various legal databases, as well as from other databases, the legal materials from other databases. I will also enlighten you how to be ethical in use of information, or the easy information which is easily available, the information which is easily available. So I take you over to my talk on, I share my slide for all of you.
Just a minute. I allow you to share the. Yes, sir. Now you can.
Meanwhile,
you can share now, sir.
I request all the audience that they can put their question in question answer box if it is permitted by the host, and we will be responding to each and every question at the end of the session, the complete session. Okay, so I already briefed you about this talk. We will talk about the features of electronic platform. We will discuss what is information retrieval strategy, what is a precise strategy for a retrieval of quality information and precise information, open access digital information which is freely available and can be accessed from anywhere, and how to access the subscribed digital content, and how to be ethical in use of the electronic information, or rather any information. When we talk about the features, this is essential because if you don't understand the features of electronic platform, it will be very difficult for you to manage the things online. So the first important feature of e-platform is it's a huge information reservoir. When I say it's a huge information reservoir, that means it is really big, many times big than a library which you have seen. If you look for something from everything, you are lost. We have the experience of using Google. What we do, when we are using Google, we look for something from everything, and that is why we are lost there. So please remember that electronically you have access to a very huge information reservoir, a very huge information collection, whereas your information requirement is confined to only a part of it. So since your information requirement is confined to a part of that huge collection, there is no need to search everything. So if you are precise in your query, if you are specific in your search, then only you will be able to retrieve very precise and relevant information from any database, from through any search engine. Electronically, particularly in subscribed databases, whatever content is available to you, that is up to date. And in some cases, you have access to the resources which are to come in print after 3 or 4 months. So it provides you access to the information which is not available in print also. This format supports multimedia. That means you have textual information, you have images, you have audios, you have videos. The videos could be both real videos, or it could be animated videos. So it provides you a quite interesting platform for learning by the students. This electronic platform is quite interactive. Wherever you have the hyperlink, you can click and go to the full text depending upon the permission or the authority to access the content. The information retrieval is very quick. That we will see when we discuss how to retrieve the information precisely. The information on digital platform is 24/7 available. It is not only 24/7 available, but it is equally available and simultaneously available. That means all of you can read one research paper sitting at different places in our country or anywhere in the world simultaneously. So there is no restriction of number of copies or number of users who can use at a time. See, nowadays researches or assignments and researches are more and more of multidisciplinary nature. And this platform allows us to access information with a context to various disciplines. So we can make a multidisciplinary approach to information. If you want to look for information from law, philosophy, and economics, you can club all these three subjects together in one single search, and you can find out precise information from your subject, that is law, from economics, and from philosophy, on the concepts for which you are trying to have information. The information resources which are available through subscribed databases, they are peer reviewed, as well as the open access resources, which I'm going to tell you, they are also a reliable and authentic source of information. It simply means that whatever we access through Google, whatever we get, everything is not reliable and not authentic. That means in open access, we need to understand which part of information or which piece of information is reliable and which piece of information is otherwise. So this is very important. There are various search options. Again, we will see, we talk about online information retrieval. And this platform also supports multiple services like SDI, that is selective dissemination of information, and alerts. That means there are a lot of features in the search engines. And if you try to understand those features, you can make your access to information very easy. For example, if you have made a search today from a database and you feel that you have seen everything, and you want a notification from the database whenever something added to the database which is pertinent to your query, it can be done. You simply need to set an alert. So this is these are some special services which is available in almost all the databases. And then they also provide how to cite. So they also provide standardized citation styles from various citation formats or manuals. It could be APA, Chicago, MLA, like that. Now see, when you go to a library, that is, you have a different experience. But when you go to online content, online platform, it is entirely different than your experience in the library. See, you can go to a library for a specific book or a journal or a research paper or anything, and you have some lead. So you go to the stacks and you find everything on that topic or on that area displayed in front of you. You have a panoramic view of the books which is on your on a specific requirement is displayed. But electronically, we don't have that opportunity to see what is there. So your searching or your strategy to search information becomes very important. Otherwise, you won't be able to retrieve precise information or the information which is highly relevant to your query. So we need to understand how to make a search and how to retrieve the information. See, basically, when we talk about searching, there are two ways of making a search. But before before I tell you about searching, let me tell you, there are two facilities in every database. Number one is browsing, and number two is searching. You can browse by the titles of the journals, or you can browse by the subjects and subcategories of a subject in a database. So that is, browsing is from going one section to other section, from common to more specific, from general to more specific. But searching is, you can look for some keywords, you can look for a particular scholar, you can look for a topic or subject. So that is called searching. Whenever you are searching, there are two facilities: basic search with a single search box, and advanced search, where you find multiple search boxes, and you can use your keywords in different permutations and combinations to look for or to make your search more precise and to retrieve more relevant information in a particular search. So there are certain steps which we need to follow if we are the beginners. If you are an expert, you can find the same information from the basic search. But as a beginner, you need to go to the advanced search page, and then and every time, unless you become an expert, you should use the advanced search page of a search engine. The first thing is you should read the help menu or help guide of a search engine by spending half an hour or 45 minutes time. That information, that knowledge which you gain after reading that help menu or help guide will always help you whenever you are searching, whenever you are using that search engine in future. So it is very important. You all are learners, and these tools are very important, and you should learn these tools, the search engines, the databases, and particularly the legal databases. They are going to continue with you people, whether you are in academics, in research, or in judiciary, or in advocacy. So please put some extra effort, some time, and learn about these tools and services on legal research. So for making a search, I have devised some steps which are really found to be very helpful. So the first step is state what you want to find. This is very important. And this is the experience is many a times, even very big stalwarts, they are not able to articulate, they are not able to determine the extent of information required, and they are not able to articulate what they are exactly looking for. So the point is we need to state what we want to find. How we can do that? You write on a piece of paper what exactly you are looking for. For example, here are two examples given: cognitive architecture of the depressed, and globalization and its impact on the Indian working class. I give you one more example, and that is very simple. Economic development in India. Very simple example. Now let us, in the second step, we are required to find out the keywords in the given example. So in the first example, the keywords are cognitive architecture and depressed. In the second example,
Ji sir, you're audible, sir.
Is also a keyword for my query. Fine. If you make impact as a keyword, so you will be leaving all those papers in your search which has not used the word key, which has not used the word impact as a keyword. That means all the papers where we find only the term globalization and Indian working class, they deal with the impact or
Sir, please check your audio. Sometimes it goes somewhere. Sometimes it goes missing, sir.
in India, the keywords are economic development and India. So once we have identified the keywords, we proceed to the third step, and it is very important. And this is intellectual task at the step 3. Select the synonyms and variant word for what? Synonyms and variant word forms for the keywords which you have selected. Right? Now we come to the third example, economic development in India. The keywords are economic development and India. Since we are at a very online mode, I'm not going to ask you what could be the synonymous terms. So I tell you.
Now the Dr. Singh's connection has disconnected, but in the meantime, what I'm saying is that we will share these slides on the website also and on Facebook also. So please concentrate on what he is saying. That is more important for us to understand that how to coin the terms, how to coin that, so that we will have the limited kind of information. Generally, when we type unstructured information, thousands and thousands of things will come which is of no use. Sir, has you come back?
Yes, ma'am. I have come
Okay.
back and. Okay, so we were at step 3. Once you have identified the keywords, it becomes very important to find out the synonymous terms to your keyword. In that example, economic development in India, we have identified that there are synonymous terms like economic growth, economic progress. So if we don't use the term economic growth and economic progress, what will happen? So you make a search with economic development and India, and we retrieve a lot of material which deals with economic development in India. But what we are living without knowing, we are leaving all the research papers, all the information where the author or the scholar has used the term development, used the term growth or progress instead of development. So to make your search more comprehensive, to make your search more relevant, we need to find out if there are some synonymous terms to a particular query and its keyword. See, when we speak about variant word forms, there are change of spelling, singular and plural. So we need to take care of that also, because somebody may have used different variations of the words or different variations of the gender. Now, once you have identified the keywords for a particular query, you are not required to search them one by one. You are required to combine them together in one single search using the Boolean operators and make a search. So there are 3 Boolean operators: and, or, not. The use of not excludes the term with which we have used the Boolean operator not. Say, for example, if I'm looking for pets, but I'm not interested in cats, what I can say, I can make a query pets, not cats. Please remember, Boolean operators are always used in capital letters. They are always used in capital letters. So when you use the Boolean operator not, that excludes the term from your search result. But there are 2 more Boolean operators, and, or. One broadens your search results, or it makes your search results more, and the other limits your search results, that it minimizes the number of results in your search. So again, I don't want to ask you, because there will be a very not effective medium of asking the question. So what is the meaning of and, or? See, and means the meaning to the search engine of and is this and this. That means both. The meaning of or to the search query is this or this, either of them. That means or broadens the query or broadens the number of results. It provides more results in your search query, and limits your search. Say, let us talk about the example. How to make, how to combine the different keywords which we have identified for the third example. That is economic development or economic growth or economic progress. That means this or this or this. Wherever economic development, economic growth, economic progress is there, that will be part of your result. But when we say economic development or economic growth or economic progress and India, what we do, we limit it. That these 3, development, growth, and progress, should be in a particular context that is called India, right? So, and limits your limits the number of results in your search, whereas or broadens the number of results in your search. Give a context. See, many a times we retrieve a lot of results, and I know you people, you are not habitual of looking to all the results. We never bother that what is beyond. We are never bothered that what is beyond the third page or fourth page of your search result. So how we can do that? We can give a context. Say, for example, this term alimony is a legal term, and somebody is searching for alimony. But alimonies are for various purposes in various contexts. So what is the context of information which you are looking on alimony? So if somebody is looking for alimony, information on alimony with a context to diverse, we should use the context diverse, right? Let me give you one more example. Somebody is looking for information. Hello?
Yes, sir, please.
Continue.
Yes.
Somebody is looking for information on FDI, foreign direct investment. Fine. Now, the information seeker needs to contextualize his query, because FDI is a world phenomenon. So to which country, in which country? He says, okay, India. Again, he can contextualize in which period, because it is not something new. So he can look for 2015 to 2020 or 19 to 2019, 2020, like that. So context is essential to make your search more relevant. Otherwise, out of the context, information will be part of your result. And this is the sixth step, and this is again very important. Check your spelling, proper spacing, and proper punctuation. Friends, remember, a misspelled query will only retrieve those results where same spelling mistake has taken place. Otherwise, you won't find anything. So before hitting the search, be sure that you have used the correct spelling, the spaces are proper, and punctuations are proper. Coming to some very important search techniques, they really help you to find out more precise and more relevant information. The first of them is phrase search. Now see, if you are looking for all the terms in your query as it is in the same order, you go for the phrase search. Simply, you can make a phrase search by putting double inverted comma in basic search, or if you go to the advanced search page, you have different windows where you have drop down menu and you can select either of them to make your search a phrase. Even in Google also, if you go to the advanced search page, you will find that phrase search facility is there. Where we use phrase search is prominently used in used with the proper nouns, name of individuals, name of institutions, name of departments, name of organizations. You can use phrase search. Let me give you an example. You are searching for information on Department of Justice, right, in Google. So you will have a lot of information where the term Department of Justice has come together in the same order, and that could be relevant or relevant. That's a different thing. But you will also have information, large number of results where either the term department has come or the term justice has come. You are not at all interested in those papers. You are interested in only those papers where Department of Justice as a phrase has come, right? Let me give you one more example. And this is a very interesting example. If you look for Harivansh Rai Bachchan in Google, if you search the term Harivansh Rai Bachchan in Google, you will have a lot of information on Harivansh Rai Bachchan, his poetry, his biographies, everything on Harivansh Rai Bachchan. But you will also have some information on Amitabh Bachchan, Jaya Bachchan, Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, Abhishek Bachchan, all the Bachchans. You know why? Because Bachchan is common. The term Bachchan is common. So unless you make the proper noun search as a phrase search, such common surnames will be creeping in your results. Like if you search for William Shakespeare, some information on William Wordsworth will come. So to avoid those things, and in some cases, we use other terms as a phrase to find very precise, very relevant, and very specific information. So that is putting the all the words, finding all the words in a query in the same order as it is as a phrase is very helpful. Field search facilitates you an opportunity to find a particular keyword, a particular query in a particular field of information. That particular field of information could be the title of the information, the author of the information, the subject of the information. You can find some keywords in the keywords in the abstract. That means you have the facility to tell the search engine that you are looking for this keyword or this particular term in a particular information format or in a particular information field. Say if you're looking for Shakespeare and you want Shakespeare as an author. So there is no use of searching Shakespeare as a title because he's title of so many documents. Shakespeare has become a subject. So looking Shakespeare as a subject because you are only interested in Shakespeare as an author. You want to read some dramas or some sonnets written by Shakespeare. So whenever you are looking for a piece of information, it is you, the user, the end user, who can better decide where and what to find and how to find. Provided if you have some of the basic knowledge. This is not rocket science. This is really understanding of use of search engines and retrieval of information. So you can limit a search to a particular field. The field could be the title of the document. If you want something, see if I search for economic development, the same example, the documents which has got the term economic development in their title, they are more relevant compared to the documents where it has come in either in the keywords or in abstract or somewhere in the full text, right? So many a times we use the field search to find out more relevant, more precise information to a particular query because there is so much of information on internet or in a particular database. The third one, Boolean operators, we have already seen. What are the Boolean operators and or not? Proximity search is a facility, and particularly this is available with a search engine called JSTOR. And I believe you should have used it. And if you have not used it, please make a search, make a use of JSTOR, right? Proximity search provides you a facility to look for different words in close proximity to each other. That proximity you can decide. It could be 5 words, 10 words, 20 words in one sentence, in one paragraph, on one page, like that. So that proximity helps you to find out some very hard to find information in a particular context by using proximity search. Concept map is more recently known as mind map, and it provides you all the information in a single box or in a single screen. And particularly, this facility is available with a database called Credo Reference. I invite all of you, please visit the site of Credo Reference, database Credo Reference, and try to find out, try to see what it is. It's a beautiful platform where around more than 900 reference documents, the encyclopedias, the dictionaries, the almanacs, biographies, that is put together. And you can make a search and you can find out the full text. You can find out the pronunciation of a word and video of global warming or video of photosynthesis. So everything is there. So please use Credo Reference. Now, you have used all those 6 steps and most of the search techniques which I have already explained to you. And you could only retrieve only 500 results. I know none of us is going to just read the title of those 500 results, what the titles are. We are not, we never do it. What we do, we look to the first page, second page, third page, and if somebody is more interested, he will go to fourth or fifth page, and beyond that rarely somebody goes. But it doesn't mean, even in Google, that there is no relevant information or relevant results on page number 10th or 12th or 13th or 14th, right? So once you have made a search and you have retrieved 300, 400, 500, or even 5,000 results, then also you have the facility available to refine your search or to limit your search. How you can do that? You see, as a user of information, you want some information in a context. So again, you will have to use the context. You are interested to read something, a paper written by a particular scholar. So your context, once you have made the search, then after that, your context is that author, that scholar. You can limit your search to that scholar. You are only interested to read something from a particular document, from a particular journal. So your context is the title of the journal. You can limit your search to that journal. Your context could be a particular period of publication. You are not interested in older articles, older research paper, or older information. You are only interested in new information. So you can limit your search to only 2020 or 2019 and 2020. All these possibilities are there. What is required is you please just try to play with how to search the information and how to get good information from the databases. Because see, physically we are not able to see what is there. It is only your search strategy, your interaction with the search engine, which will help you to retrieve precise and relevant information or otherwise. Now, in these periods of lockdown, we are not able to have access to the precise or precious resources which are available in our library, particularly the print material. But nevertheless, you can better utilize using the digital content or the information which is digitally available. So there are two segments of information which is digitally available. The first is open access resources. And whatever I'm going to tell you, it is simply an indicative list. It is indicating you that what is there. A lot of information is already listed on the list on the Delhi University Library System website page. And I will tell you the URL address. You can directly link to that page and you can find out more of information or more of the resources. See, UGC MOOCs, you are not attending your classes, but you can attend to your teachers, to many of the faculty members from all three centers in University of Delhi through their MOOCs, which is listed on UGC MOOCs site. What is there? And believe me, friends, I have seen hundreds of course material are there for law, for legal studies, right? There are 207 undergraduate courses and 88 PG courses listed on UGC MOOCs. Similarly, you can key in EPG Pathshala and you can find a lot of material on around 22,000 modules. And you know, you have the textual information, you have the specific resource person describing and detailing that information which is available in text. You have some question answers, you have some interactive platforms where you can respond to the queries and you can find out what is the correctness of your answer. So all these things are freely available like UGC MOOCs and EPG Pathshala. If you are looking for some some information and you feel that this information is old in nature, a book which was published long back, 50 years, 60 years back, or some information which has been digitized by various agencies in our country, you don't have to go here and there. Please use National Digital Library, NDL. It is a search platform. They don't have any content. It's a search platform. And what they do, they help you to find out a piece of information from everything which has been digitized in our country, whether it is digitized by an NGO or university or some governmental agencies, anybody. Everything from a single platform is searchable to you. You need to register yourself in NDL, and you can use facilities which are part means throughout the India, whatever has been digitized, that can be accessed through National Digital Library, NDL. Coming to open access books, I have seen, friends, there are some sites which are really very helpful for the students at this period of time. These are some of the book sites. PDF Drive is of particular reference, and see this number I took, I think 10-12 days back. What they are doing, every minute they are adding 50 more new books to their database. So this number would have increased. I have seen personally that a large number of books on legal studies or on law is also full text available in PDF Drive. And see, this is free. This is free. You can download the book and you can read. You cannot get a book, a print book from the library, but you can get a book from here. Your teachers may have recommended you a book for a particular topic. So that book may not be available, but that particular topic may be available in more than 1, 2, or 3 books. So you can download a book for a particular topic also. There is no payment, right? And these are some of other e-book sites where you can download the books free of cost. Then we have ETDs, electronic thesis and dissertations. Now, at this stage, you may be surprised to means you will be surprised that I'm telling you go for the thesis and dissertations. You are not required to submit a thesis or dissertation, but some chapters of the thesis and dissertations could be highly useful for you. Not the entire thesis, but some of the chapters, part of a chapter could be really helpful for you. And you know, all the theses which have been submitted to any of the Indian universities, they are accessible to you on a site called Sodhganga. So you log into Sodhganga. This is free. Even you are not required to go for registration. Go to Sodhganga, make a search. 100 and 100,000 of theses are there. You can download the thesis, complete thesis, and if you are interested, you can download a particular chapter also. So Sodhganga is again very helpful. And besides Sodhganga, I would like to mention you one more thesis database that is called PQDT Open. What is PQDT Open? It's a platform by ProQuest for thesis and dissertations which is submitted from world scholars. That means scholars from throughout the world, they submit their thesis to the platforms like PQDT Open for worldwide audience, for viewing and for reference. You know, thesis is something for which we put a lot of efforts and a lot of energy in creating the document in the form of thesis. But rarely the theses are published. So this is a very important document of one's life which remains unpublished throughout his academic career. So these platforms help you to find out full text thesis. In PQDT Open, you can look for a thesis, full text thesis, not one, large number of theses under any concept, for any concept under the sky. You can find out thesis on Gita, Bhagavad Gita, on Vedas in PQDT Open. So that means a lot of material is there. Now coming to the subscription-based digital information resources. I know all of you may not have tried to use these resources which are available on subscription, because from your home you cannot access it, but you are allowed to access it provided you have the ID and password. How you can access? You need to connect through VPN. VPN is what? It is virtual private network. You need to put this https://vpn.du.ac.in, right? You will find this homepage. Put your name or ID and password and log in. You will land to a page where all the resources are listed and you can use them. See, in virtual private network, even if you are not in Delhi, you are in some remote south of India, or somewhere in Punjab or Kashmir or anywhere. From there, through VPN, you virtually come to the university. So this is called virtual private network. You virtually come to the university to access the resources. You can download, you can access, you can download full text, and then once you log out, you are at your home. So you only come virtually to find out the information. I believe that most of you are not having the ID and password for this VPN login. What to do? You can send, or you should visit to the DUCC website, and you can apply online. For a proof that you are a student with Law Center 1 or Law Center 2 or CLC, what you can do, you can scan or click a photo of your ID card and attach with your online application. Believe me, friends, in two working days, they will automatically mail you or send you Wi-Fi ID and password on your cell. That Wi-Fi ID and password will work for ID and password with VPN, right? So once you are logged in VPN, you will come to this page that is called CRL, and by clicking the CRL, you can go to the central reference website where all the resources are listed, and you can access anything. You can download the full text, everything that is possible. Now, these are the list of legal databases. I know some of you may have tried to find information using these databases, like Corporate Law Advisor, Legal Pundit, LexisNexis, Making of Modern Law, SSC, Manupatra. A lot of legal databases are there. I'm not going to explain it to you. What I'm planning a combined webinars for all the three law centers students on these legal databases, and I'm in touch with the service provider, because they are basically the authorized people to tell you how best you can utilize. And the use of these legal databases are going to be part of your life throughout your academic, research, advocacy, and judiciary career. You will be using them. So I'm trying to get in touch with the service providers, and one by one, not everything one day, they will explain one single database in a webinar on one day. So threadbare, you can learn how to use a specific database, because these are very important. They are Gita and Quran for you people. Now, besides those legal databases, there are multiple other databases where large number of journals dealing with law are there, and they are very important journals. See, something associated with Science Direct cannot be less important. So they are very important journals which are available with Science Direct. I'm just simply orienting you what other databases are there besides the legal databases. So you have Science Direct, a large number of law journals are there. You have Wiley Online Library. This is again a database. See, Science Direct is the world's topmost database and topmost publisher. So there are so many good journals for law from Elsevier, from Wiley Online Library. you can access only from their site. You won't find somewhere in LexisNexis, Manupatra or others. Annual reviews, although this is not very appropriate for you at this stage, but once you complete your LLB and you go to LLM, this is the first thing you should know. What is annual reviews? See, we have access to annual review of law and social sciences. What these annual reviews are, they review the most significant primary research literature in a particular discipline in the previous year. So if you want to find, see, if you are going to, I think in LLB also you are going to submit some assignment. So before submitting assignment on a topic, if you spend half an hour and try to find out information from annual review, you are opening a very important gate of information for yourself, right? So this is, again, annual reviews are very important for you. We have collection of law journals from Sage. You can access to Sage, all the journals of law from Sage. ABI Inform Complete is not a publisher. They are aggregators. And what they do, they purchase content from journals, from different materials, from a lot of publishers, and put the things together on a very unique searchable platform to find precise and relevant information. So you can find a lot of material from ABI Inform Complete on law, or particularly with corporate law or business law, because ABI Inform Complete is basically a business economics database, but some law information, and particularly business law or market law like that, is available from ABI Inform Complete. In some of the cases, you may not have access to the recent issues of the journals. So don't get afraid. Those journals are, those recent issues are accessible from their publisher site. Here you can have an embargo period of 6 to 12 months. That means you will have older version of the journals that is from 6 to 12 months. But you will have plenty of material from on such platforms like ABI Inform Complete. You have all the journals, all 220 journals published by Cambridge University Press available to you, and there are a good number of law journals from Cambridge University Press. JSTOR, again, it is an aggregator. They are not publisher, but they are wonderful in the sense that if you print a research paper, a journal article from JSTOR, it will give you a look and feel that if you have photocopied it from a print journal. So again, they provide access to large material. In some cases, you don't have access to the recent issues of the journal, but they are very useful, wonderful. All the journals from Oxford University Press, again, we provide access to you, including law. UMI database is a subscribed database for thesis and dissertations, right? This is similar to Sodh Ganga or PQDT Open. They are open access, can be accessed from anywhere, but UMI database is subscribed database, and you need to come virtually through VPN in university to access this huge thesis and dissertation database called UMI. Okay, friends, we have seen that the material, plenty of material from plenty of resources are available, whether it is free or subscribed. So what you have large number of databases and everything available on your fingertips. But be sure, it is easy to copy, it is easy to cut, it is easy to paste, but it is even easier to detect from where you have done this, right? You will find that you can go to Wikipedia or some other sites and you can find information, a lot of information, and you can put the things together and make a product of your own. Be sure we check everything. So please be ethical in use of information, and it is not difficult. the time you spend in collecting information from different sources, integrating them together without proper citation and acknowledgement. I believe in half of that time, you can do everything ethically. Research and assignments are not written in isolation. They are written on based on the facts, information, ideas, documents, which is already existing. You are required to borrow. This is part of your research. You are required to borrow, but you are required to be ethical. You are allowed to borrow, or you are required to borrow, but you are required to be ethical. How you can be? Sorry. You can be ethical by being honest. Be honest and cite everything properly. Acknowledge everything and cite it properly. You need to be honest to whom? You need to be honest to yourself first. If you are honest to yourself, your learning, your friends, your teachers, your supervisors, your family members, you are not going to plagiarize. Be honest. And this is not very difficult. This is, I think this is the easiest way. See, what is identified as a reason of plagiarism is students believe that they are not so good in the language. They cannot write such an elegant language as their seniors or their teachers or the authors can do. Fine. This is your thought process. Nobody is expecting a student to write a language like a professional author. Nobody. My dear friends, you are in the stage of learning. Even that author in your stage, he was in the same boat. He was in the same position. What he has done, he has learned. What he has learned? He has learned how to understand the information from different documents, how to find out information and keep in your mind, and how to voice your mind, the ideas, information which you have collected from different documents in your mind, how to voice that mind in your own writing, in your own language. So that is part of learning. As a student, if you don't learn today, you are not going to learn any time in your life. Be sure. So it is better to be honest, cite everything properly, acknowledge for whatever you have borrowed, whether it is language, whether it is ideas, anything, any data, anything, any picture, anything that should be acknowledged and cited. See, whether you do a small assignment or a big research, right? You should be organized from beginning till end. If you are organized in your approach to assignment or in your approach to a small or big research, you are not going to plagiarize. Many a times, plagiarism is because of the scholar or the student being disorganized or unorganized. What happens? I have kept 50 research papers and I have numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 50, right? So when I'm writing my first draft, I'm saying, why should I write the references again and again? I put the number 1, number 5, number 8, like that. But when I reach to the final draft, meanwhile, some of the research papers got misplaced. What will I do? Backtracking of references is not impossible, but it is very difficult task. You can backtrack for the quoted material, but for paraphrased material or by paraphrasing. So whenever we are summarizing something, we can put a capital S before and after the text along with the references. Whenever we are quoting something, we can put Q before and after the text along with the references. And whenever we are paraphrasing, we can put a capital P before and after the text along with the references.
So that will remind you throughout your writing that whatever you have quoted, whatever you have summarized, and whatever you have paraphrased. So if you are organized, if you are honest, you can never plagiarize. This is for sure. You are not going to plagiarize, right? And use a proper citation style, one citation style, and before submitting anything, finally, please go for a similarity check. Please remember, similarity does not mean plagiarism. Similarity could be because of various reasons. So whatever is similar is always not plagiarism. And similarity can be improvised also. So this is all from my side, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay. So yes, so now I would like to tell students, kindly ask your questions. You can raise hands also. I have three written questions.
So
First
you will
question.
start with those questions, ma'am.
Yes, sir. In the meantime, please participants start writing your questions. Now there is an anonymous attendee who is asking, where can I find Hindu law book by Mullah? So
see, the attendee, he or she can look to PDF Drive or some of the ebook databases which I have indicated. I would also like to tell them that please look for many other open access resources on the site called crl.du.ac.in/OA. OA stands for open access. So if you go to the URL, whatever I have explained, that is simply an indicative list. Large number of open access resources are listed there. Besides this, if you go to subscribe databases, we are providing access to a good number of databases for ebooks also. But I feel and I think that book by Mullah is not available electronically. Something which is not electronically available cannot be provided.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the next, you can see for other books also which are online digitized in the meantime. Okay, yeah. So another question is again from anonymous attendee that we don't have ID and password. So I think you have already explained. If you want to explain,
I have explained
again,
that
you have already explained that they can apply on the DUCC website and the forms are there and they can upload their iCard, etc. And then they can get the ID and password from the university site itself. So this is you have explained. Now another question is from our colleague, Dr. Sunanda Bharti. She is asking, please explain the advantage of virtual private network.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Sunanda Bharti is asking. Again, before he joins, I think there is some problem on his side. So Sunanda, basically what I could understand from the presentation, that virtual thing is that we are sitting at our places, and if we have the Wi-Fi ID from the university, if we have already applied for the Wi-Fi connection, so password has been issued. So because you see that Google search we can do only for the unpaid things, and the university has given subscribed for many of the journals, whatever he has discussed in this information, so that we cannot access from our homes, that we have to log in from the official computers of the university, colleges, etc. So now we cannot approach those areas. So this VPN will help us in that scenario, as we can if we have already the Wi-Fi user password and name, then it is okay. But like I don't have. So if I want to access the library, our library e-resources, then I have to apply to the DUCC website and I have to fill a form and I have to give a proof also, I think, if I'm a teacher. So in that scenario, what will happen? They will issue the the number, username, Wi-Fi username to me, and the password also. So when I will get it, I can go to the DUCC website, and there is the VPN is there, and I will log in the VPN with the DU username and DU password. So immediately I will be connected to this CRL system. Now in the CRL system, I can go to the law faculty, and then I can search whatever thing is available online in our Faculty of Law library. This is what I could understand from his discussion. Sir, are you there
Yes,
now?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
so
I'm there.
I try to explain the VPN, and Dr. Sunanda Bharti was asking the advantage of VPN. So I try to explain that virtually we can visit our faculty library by
Yes.
right, sir? So okay, so I hope, Sunanda, if you are satisfied, then yeah, or if you're not satisfied, kindly write again your question, please. Okay, sir. So in the meantime, Sunanda Bharti will write again. Rahul Biglani's question, he's asking, what is the permitted percentage of plagiarism in PhD thesis? Plagiarism.
Rahul, there is no percentage of plagiarism is allowed. What is allowed is 10% of similarity of language. And I told you that similarity does not mean plagiarism. Similarity could be for various purposes, for various reasons, right? So only it is 10% similarity which is allowed as per UGC norms, because UGC considers similarity up to 10% as zero level of similarity, and they consider it negligible. So if it is 11%, it is not allowed.
Yes, and plagiarism, if we do plagiarism, then punishments are also there for different kind of plagiarism. So plagiarism is an offense which is not at all allowed. Okay.
Yeah.
So I again ask a question from Muhammad Rashid. He is asking, sir, can you suggest a good book on topics which you deliver a lecture, as I'm not good in search and research? So can you give a name of the book from where he can do the research, etc.?
Research for which topic?
Yes, he
topic
has,
is important.
Okay. He has not asked, and again, another question which he has asked is what is the Facebook page name from where I can get this slides?
So it can be responded by you.
Yeah, Rashid, we have the official Facebook page, and also we will upload this recording on the official website of the Law Center 1. So you can access the official website also, and this Facebook page where you can ask, we have circulated it. So from both these sites, you can have this slides. Okay. So, okay, sir. Next question again is from Deepika Guglani. She's asking how to consolidate all the research on laptop, as in I am more used to reading on paper, but to do research one has to see a large number of papers online. Please advise how to consolidate research.
How to consolidate research online?
Yes, sir. No, sir, she is doing maybe her research. So she says that she is good in paper reading. But if for every purpose we have to use laptop, so how she can manage the research which is taken from various online sources in her laptop?
She can download the research papers.
And Deepika, I would like to add to what sir is saying, that in this scenario, you create your files like topic wise. Suppose if you're writing a thesis, so you can have 10 topics in your thesis. So topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, what I suggest to my research scholars, I always suggest that whatever material you find on that particular topic, kindly copy that material in that chapter. Suppose you have got material which you will try to incorporate in chapter 2 of your thesis. So when you find that material online, you please put that material with proper citation reference, the name of the author, the name of the book.
This question is raised by a research scholar.
Sir, I don't know. She has not mentioned.
So if you are a research scholar, please use some reference management tools like Mendeley, Jotaro, Paper, wherein you can download everything in the folder they provide, and you can cite the research papers while you are writing. If you are using an online reference management tool, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you
go ahead.
can, yeah, so you can cite while you are writing. So managing different research papers can be done by using the digital platform also.
Okay, okay. So again, another question is from Rahul Meglani. I think he's a research scholar. He is saying, and please guide me as to how can I know the percentage of plagiarism of my PhD thesis. Any free tool or website, sir, for checking
No.
the plagiarism? You cannot do, Rahul. Plagiarism is not allowed at all. 0%.
Rahul ji, you need to come to me.
Okay.
I am the person who will certify you that your document is plagiarism free.
But sir, he's asking whether it is any free tool available on the internet.
No, I never recommend him to go to some free tool.
Okay, sir. Sir,
So
suppose if, sir, I want to add in this question, suppose I write an article and I have to, before submitting, as you say, sir, always try to check what is the similarity index. Definitely plagiarism will not be there. But if I want to check my similarity count, how I check? Should I also come to you?
No, you do have a library in Law Center 1. So what we have done, we have provided ID and password to all the PICs and ID and password to all the libraries.
Okay, sir.
We really wish to support all the faculty members from university. So there is an ID and password with all the units of DOLS, all the libraries under DOLS, and all the PICs heads have been given a centralized ID and password.
Okay, okay. So we can approach them and then we can test our article for any kind of similarity. Thank you,
Yes,
sir. So another question is from anonymous attendee. Sir, I have accessed National Digital Library through VPN, but again it is asking to log in. No,
you are not required to access to NDL through VPN. You can access from open access also. You are only required to register yourself. And each time you are trying to access the NDL, you will have to log in.
Again, Rahul,
you are registered.
Okay.
And registration is free.
Okay. Now, Rahul again is asking for the tool or website to check percentage of similarity. Rahul, you can go to Rajesh sir directly. Okay. Yeah. Now, again, Deepika is asking a question. When we have to find cases, for example, in arbitration, many times we find cases are overruled. So how do we reach conclusion when the case themselves don't follow consistency? So this can be addressed by a subject expert. I'm not a man from law. Yeah, so I take arbitration. Of course, I'm not the expert, but I want to say that we have to be in continuous search for the cases, because if you are a law student, you cannot, be away from the books. Every time you have to go to the library and you have to check the journals which are a monthly basis appear in the library. They come, and we have to sit and check that what is the on that particular subject index. We can go and check that whether there is any new case on arbitration or any other topic which you want to check. So if you find that arbitration, there is a case, you check it on what aspect it is there. So only by this means, I think that we can check as a teacher also, as a researcher also, the law, whatever we have taken is the continuous work is required for this. So Deepika, you have to sit in library and check yourself. There is no way of telling that this case, maybe you can go for, you can type that in the search, and maybe some person has written an article on that particular case, that it has been overruled or they did not like the case comment kind of thing. You can try to find out on that case. So type the name of the case and then maybe you get certain articles which can clarify whether this case has been overruled or not. This is sometimes how I do. What I feel, yes, sir,
that in databases, she should look for the latest cases. Even in legal databases, she can look for latest cases which are not overruled.
Yes.
But see, overruling of legal cases are so frequent
Yes.
that I means I'm not sure that everything is in the databases, included in the databases so regularly. So better you take the route of advised by your teachers to
Yes.
keep yourself updated.
So Rahul is saying thank you, sir, for guiding him. So he's saying thank you to you. Now another question is from our own teacher faculty, Dr. Poonam Das ma'am. She's asking, can you explain Mendeley online reference management with some examples?
For online reference management tools, another class is required. I cannot.
These Mendeley online reference, okay,
yeah.
Because this is the question has been asked by our own expert teacher. So
Yeah,
definitely she has asked a question of, you know, that high level, which is beyond
Mendeley,
the scope
Mendeley,
of this.
let me tell her, Mendeley is a reference management tool which manages your references automatically when you are writing your research paper, right? If you are writing through Mendeley, and you can change from one citation style to another citation style along with the in-text citation. So change incorporated in references will also be reflected in the text. If you are using APA style, and if you convert to Chicago style or Harvard style, so there are all these are different in text citation, and they have different citation pattern. So everything will be automatically reflected. So they are reference management tools.
So sir, kindly have a session on then for the faculty, because we all require this, and I did not know about this thing earlier. Now, as madam has raised, it's a very useful tool. Maybe we can conduct on this for the whole faculty of law, so all teachers can join, because it will be very helpful for all of us. So
right,
Poonam ma'am, I shall try to arrange this lecture again.
Thank you extend my thanks to Dr. Poonam Das.
Yes, sir.
My thanks.
Yes, sir. I will convey, and she's herself is hearing all this.
See, we are only 21. Why don't you unmute everyone? We are very less participants are here. Unmute everyone.
Sir, now time is already 4:25. So
okay.
They are very nicely they are asking questions now.
No,
again,
see, what we can do, we can bid goodbye to each one, at least by voice.
That I will do. That I will do. I will unmute all of them after these questions. Okay. So Niket is asking for, sir, do you have access to Turnitin software?
Yeah, from my home also.
From your home also. Okay. Chetan, he was my student also. He says, sir, I am a final year student. Does the subscription automatically ends when my LLB will be completed?
No, subscription will not end. His access will expire.
Okay.
His access will expire.
For his purpose, he cannot access. This is what
he cannot access. Yeah.
He cannot access. Okay, sir. So Dr. Poonam Das is saying, thank you very much, sir, for this information. Ma'am, I will unmute you, and you can personally will speak to him. Just wait for some time. Okay. So next question is from Deepika again. She is saying, thank you so much for organizing this webinar. I wish this had been organized in the first year itself. Okay,
so this is for you, ma'am.
This is for you also, for all of us. Niket is again saying, sir, we need.
No, let me. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah.
You tell the student we organize such programs every year.
Okay.
For all the students we organize such programs. You have seen many a times. You have seen.
Yes. Okay, sir. So Niket is again saying, sir, we need my research papers to be checked through Turnitin. So you can go to sir and you can get your things checked. Anonymous is saying, thank you so much, sir and ma'am. So this is over now. I unmute a few of our colleagues at least who are there. I can write Poonam ma'am's name. She is there. So I say is she is there now. Ma'am, you are as a panelist, you can speak. I think Sunanda madam is there. So Sunanda ma'am is Sunanda, has she left? Okay, maybe she has left. So Suman is a madam, or Suman is madam, I think. Again,
Dr.
I
Poonam
promote.
Das, ma'am, Dr.
Poonam
Poonam
Das,
Das, ma'am, you can allow yourself for a video and audio.
Good evening, sir. I cannot connect to video with my computer, but certainly through audio.
Okay,
No,
yes,
no,
ma'am.
ma'am.
We
See,
can
see,
hear you.
Information.
We can hear you.
at the bottom, left hand
Yeah,
bottom
yes,
of
sir.
your
At the
screen.
bottom it is there, but some problem in my software. It is
Okay,
Windows 10.
okay.
So
Okay,
that's
ma'am.
why I cannot access.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, doesn't matter, ma'am. At least you speak.
Yeah. So thank you
Suman
very much,
also.
sir. It was really informative. And we really want that because certain new things have come up which we were not aware of it. So please
ma'am.
take some more classes for us.
Sure, ma'am, sure.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Suman, you want to add something?
Alok,
Yes.
it was very informative, and I am extending my thanks to the sir, and
Okay.
it has really benefited me a lot. Thank you so much, Alok, to you and to Rajesh ji.
Thank you
ma'am.
for
Thank you.
attending it, Suman. Because I think that it is for all of us, for faculty, for student, for researcher. This e-resources are very important presently, especially in this lockdown period, as it has extended up to
Yeah.
31st May for all of us at least. So this is the best thing that
Alok,
we can use.
it has really benefited me a lot. And special thanks to you and Rajesh ji.
Thank
Thank you,
all.
ma'am.
Thank you, you also to attend this thing. So, sir, I think there is no more question. And Deepika is saying, sir, we look forward to more webinars, especially on research portals. So she's hopeful to have more webinars, and definitely I will talk to Professor Sarabjit in this regard, sir, and I'll let you know that we can have something on Mendeley kind of thing, means the improved or the technology, advanced technology things which can be helpful for the teachers and the research scholars which who are joined with us. So I think that there are advanced kind of courses we can also do, because I have focused in this webinar on the LLB students especially and the faculty because, you know, for our research purposes. But definitely we are going to organize more webinars on advanced technologies so that can be more beneficial for the faculty members. So now, sir, I want to say thank you so much, because it's all we have taken your time 4:30. So on my behalf, on the behalf of the Law Center 1, our faculty members, our students, I say thank you so much for us for guiding in such a simple way that how we can do research. So sir, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you the students and participants for attending this. Thank you.